If you like my videos, please check out my website at creationsciencefiction.com. You'll find articles on creationism there, as well as my blog. I also have a Creation Science Fiction Facebook page now, too. One of our local preachers, Pastor Steven Anderson from the Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, Arizona, has been in the news a lot lately, mostly for hate speech and being banned from most European countries. This guy's so far out there that sometimes he even makes the Westboro Baptist Church seem mainstream. After he recently made the news, I checked out his YouTube channel, and I noticed he had some videos like The Worldwide Flood is a Historical Fact and Dinosaurs in the Bible. The videos were pretty well produced, and I found out they were part of a larger video, well, he calls it a movie, called Science Falsely So Called, by someone named Matt Powell. Let's take a look at some clips from this video that include Steven Anderson and even Mr. Kent Hovind, the creationism salesman.
One of the great proofs of the worldwide flood is the fact that we found fossilized seashells up on the very peak of Mount Everest, which means that Mount Everest would have had to have been covered with water. It's a simple fact, but it's a true one, and scientists for many years have been trying to figure out how these fossilized seashells got all the way up to the top of Mount Everest.
Scientists figured out plate tectonics decades ago, and we've known for a long time that the reason that we find the fossils on the top of Mount Everest and the inside Mount Everest is that the Indian plate traveled northward, crashing into the Eurasian plate, and the seafloor that was once on the bottom of the ocean was pushed up over miles in the air. Plate tectonics is testable and measurable. For some reason, the young Earth creationists have been told this over and over again, but they don't seem to get it.
Now, if you read the Bible, it's very clear that the Bible says that there was once a flood, and that the flood covered the entire earth.
The entire world was not flooded. Land was showing.
But this was found in the top of the Grand Canyon.
I'm not sure who he's interviewing there, and I had to go look at the original video to find out what he was talking about. But what he's talking about is like the Grand Staircase and all the layers that would have been above the Grand Canyon when it was originally formed. And we know about those, and there's no mystery at all. Those were eroded away as the Colorado Plateau raised a mile above sea level.
There's really no excuse for being ignorant of the flood when you have all kinds of evidence for it in the natural world, and of course you have the ancient witness of the Bible telling you of the flood. Not only that, but other cultures and other religious texts make reference to the flood. The flood legend, as people would call it, or the flood myth, is universal to all religions because it actually happened. And so because it actually happened, it's in the collective memory of mankind, which is why every religion, every nationality has some story about the earth being flooded.
Well, there he is, Mr. Hate Preacher himself, Pastor Steven Anderson. At least he seems fairly calm in this video. Of course, he's wrong about every culture having a worldwide flood myth, and he doesn't mention that not a single one matches the Hebrew flood myth.
Obviously, we get the true, accurate story from the Bible, but the natural world bears witness to it, the collective memory of mankind bears witness to it, and really the only thing that matters to me is that the Bible says it.
Well, there he's being honest. I really don't think Pastor Anderson cares whether it's real or true or not, as long as it says it in the Bible.
And they're willingly ignorant of the fact that God flooded the earth, that God created the earth, and they take the truth and turn it into a lie. They see that the earth was flooded and that there's sediment, or the Christians see at least, that the earth was flooded and there were sediment layers. But they look at that and say, well, this is a period of time.
Well, it's more than just a period of time. It's a period there were different environments that formed different types of layers, one on top of each other, over millions of years.
The Bible's very clear about the order of the flood and how things happened. The Bible teaches a global flood, a flood that covered every hill, every mountain, every animal, every valley. The entire earth was buried under water by the judgment of God.
Cool story, but there's absolutely no evidence for it. Let's take a look at one of the other video clips.
Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee.
God knew what the objections would be, and he's already covering it right here. I made Behemoth with thee.
He eateth grass as an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and the force is in the navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his stones are wrapped together.
And Behemoth is clearly a dinosaur. If you just look at the sheer size, the proportions, and when it talks about he moves his tail like a cedar, and then people say, oh, it's an elephant. Have you ever seen an elephant's tail? A cedar doesn't come to mind. Okay.
It doesn't really matter what young earth creationists believe Leviathan and Behemoth were, because we know for a fact that non-avian dinosaurs went extinct over 65 million years before man was ever around.
Some commentaries and study Bibles will put next to Behemoth, elephant. Okay, elephants don't move their tail like a cedar. Okay, elephants have a very small tail, so that's a ridiculous idea to say that Behemoth is actually an elephant. It says his bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach at him. And I believe that that is a foreshadowing of the fact that this animal is going to go extinct. God's basically saying, look, I created Behemoth, and I can wipe out Behemoth. And apparently that's what he did, since this creature is no longer around.
I really wish that young earth creationists would make up their mind. Some say dinosaurs went extinct, other ones say they're alive today.
And there was one of them which was like the Mokele Mbembe in the book, which is this. And then he
pointed to that one and said what?
He said, I've seen this one before.
Seen it alive?
Alive, yes.
In Africa?
In Africa, near the Congo.
Near the Congo,
That's where
okay.
he was from, near the Congo.
Dinosaurs lived with man. They did not live millions of years ago. Man has killed most of them. There might be some still alive.
And by the way, the Bible was predicting this thousands of years ago. The Bible thousands of years ago was telling us about these dinosaurs, Behemoth and Leviathan, and then they're discovered in the 1800s, and people are like, oh, well, this disproves the Bible. It's like, no, actually this confirms what the Bible was already telling you about these creatures that you hadn't dug up yet, but the Bible talked about them, Behemoth, Leviathan.
One of the real interesting things about these videos that were on Steven Anderson's channel is that Kent Hovind was actually featured in this movie by Matt Palmer. Not the little clip I showed earlier. That was from Kent's channel. But for some reason, Steven Anderson edited him out of all the clips that he showed.
And Kent Hovind today is getting up every single day and uploading his videos where he's teaching the Bible and preaching the Bible, but he doesn't want to give account for the wickedness of his personal life, which he wants all of a sudden to be so private when it was super public while he was sinning and rubbing all of our noses in it. You say, well, why cover this? Why get fired up about this? I'll tell you why. Because I hate this stupid doctrine that makes marriage so easy to get out of. No, it's supposed to be binding. And you know why I hate this doctrine? Because I get too many phone calls from too many men who are saying, my wife's leaving me, I don't know what to do. And I hear from too many women that say, oh, my husband left me, I don't know what to do. I've seen so many people commit suicide. I've seen their lives ruined. I've seen lives destroyed, children destroyed, marriages destroyed. And you want to know what the number one reason why? It's a stupid doctrine coming from churches that says it's okay to get divorced. You just marry someone else and it doesn't matter. It's no big, it's just a party to them. That doctrine is garbage, and I'm going to take it to task. Amen. And if a prominent Bible teacher is going to get up and teach this garbage and call everybody names if they don't agree with them, well, then I have the right to get up and say, you know what? This guy is teaching lies. Let's take him to task for it. Amen. Here's my question for you, Kent Hovind. Did you get a marriage license when you married your second wife? Because it seems like that marriage ended pretty quick and pretty easy.
So the hate preacher that was once Kent Hovind's friend hates him now. Matt Powell's video certainly teaches a lot of hate, so he did pick two good actors in Kent Hovind and Steven Anderson to spread that hate. Here's a couple more clips from his video.
This is how education works today in America. It's just everybody's taught, hey, listen, evolution's a fact. The Big Bang's a fact. The Earth being billions of years old is a fact. Just deal with it. And nobody wants to question it because then they're going to be seen as ignorant, uneducated. How did it come to life? See, instead of showing me a picture of an ape slowly turning into a human, you know that famous picture? I want to see a picture of nothing turning into a single-celled organism. That's what I want to see, because single-celled organisms are extremely complicated.
One DNA molecule, just one, is probably more complicated and contains more information than Encyclopedia Britannica. It's just one strand of DNA. If you want to believe that happened by chance, you enjoy yourself, but you're a fool to believe such a thing.
Kent Hovind just loves using that word to describe anyone who doesn't believe the same as him. This guy's just clueless and repeating nonsense.
Evolution is a religion. It is a religion. They have to believe, hope, think that these things happen. Have they ever seen spontaneous generation? Have they ever seen a Big Bang? Have they ever seen one type of animal make another type of animal? They've never seen this. They choose to believe this only because they call it science. Science has to meet three criteria. It has to be demonstratable, it has to be testable, and it has to be provable. You can't demonstrate that a speck of dust exploded 4.6 billion years ago and created all there is. You can't demonstrate that, test it, or prove it. So it's not science. It falls in the realm of religion.
Well, 4.6 billion years ago wasn't the beginning of the universe, but it's about the age of the Earth. It's like nobody proofed their movie. I don't really know who this Matt Powell guy is, but if he wants to be taken seriously at all, he needs to stop aligning himself with hate speech. I'll leave you with one more scene from his movie, which is just another rant by Steven Anderson.
We could put the whole science department of ASU and all these science teachers from all over the school system, we could put them all in a laboratory. We could bring them all of the most high-tech instruments in the world. We could bring them every chemical, every element, every possible substance to work with and say, create something that's alive.